Everything you've ever wanted to know about sex in space. Elon Musk planned to start settling on Mars in 2020, and the fact that space tourism companies are starting to offer, very expensive, trips outside the planet. Make a space vacation look less like a science fiction plot and more like something that could happen. Like any other kind of vacation, sex will probably be one of the best parts. But sexual activity in space? Does that even exist? We don't know of anyone who has gone there on their own, but that hasn't stopped the experts from making guesses. Here, they answer some of the most important questions we have about how people will hook up in space in the future. Is it even possible? Yes, but keep in mind that there will be a lot more fumbling around in a space capsule. Gravity turns out to be the important sex tool you didn't even know you were using. Just getting our parts to touch could be a puzzle. Because humans need gravity to keep their genitalia in the right place in contact with each other during coitus, its absence will create a new problem, says OB/GYN Karen Dunstan, MD. Also, the thrusting motions needed for coitus to work will cause the woman to react uniquely. She will be pushed away from her partner during coitus, which makes it very hard to do. Though it's pretty funny to think about. Dr. John Millis, a physicist and astronomer at Anderson University, says that it would be like two ice skaters standing on ice and pushing their hands together. This two-dimensional example is even harder to understand because astronauts move in 3 dimensions in space, he says. Will we have to make a whole new type of sex toys? If we want to make space sex easier, we might need to use technology to keep people from drifting apart. Millis says that a good device for space sex would have to connect the astronauts to their partners and the space station. Dr. Dunstan gives more details. That could be a piece of equipment like a jungle gym with straps that hold people in place, or it could be a piece of clothing that does the same thing. I'm sure that creative minds will come up with something clever. Will everything still work as it should? If we try to have sex in space, we will be going against the flow. Millis says that instead of flowing down, our blood will be spread out evenly throughout our bodies. Since our hearts won't have to work as hard to get blood to the brain, they may get smaller, making it harder for blood to get down to our genitals. When you add this to the fact that male astronauts' testosterone levels are dropping, it could be hard to get an erection. Since blood flow to the genitalia is also needed for female arousal, this would likely be hard as well. Would it be fun to have sex in space? Even if you can get past these problems, space sex might still not be very fun. It would be very hot. People don't sweat in space as they do on Earth, so sweat would build up on both of their bodies. Millis says, if the movement is strong enough, it could be thrown off the surface of the body. This means that liquid would gather on the body, especially in places where the two people are touching. Also, the more they moved, the more the pools of liquid around them flew off. Could it be possible to get pregnant in space? Probably. Most likely, having sex will still carry the same risk of getting pregnant. After all, fertilization doesn't need gravity, or you wouldn't be able to get pregnant when you're on top. Also, a study that came out earlier this year in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that rats could get pregnant with sperm that had been in the International Space Station for 9 months. The rats had healthy babies. Since the changes in lighting will throw off our circadian rhythms, Dr. Dunstan says that infertility may be more common during our first few weeks in space, but everything should go back to normal once we get used to the new conditions. Millis says that even if we were able to have children, we probably wouldn't want to. A fetus could be hurt by the high level of radiation in space, and the lack of gravity could stop its bones from growing. The lives of pregnant women could also be in danger because low gravity makes ectopic pregnancies more likely, which is when the egg attaches somewhere outside the womb. So, Elon Musk's colony might live and even grow, but it might not be able to make more colonies. So it's time for birth control. It's likely to work. Birth control also doesn't need gravity, so preventing pregnancy in space should be the same. A study by King's College London and Baylor College of Medicine found that long-acting, reversible contraceptives, like IUDs and implants, are the best options for sex in space because they wouldn't take up any space on a ship. Also, using them over and over again can get rid of the periods, which could save storage space, and prevent a potential zero-gravity period mess. If astronauts did drugs, would they get in trouble? NASA hasn't thought much about this problem because it hasn't come up yet. In a statement to Glamour, the group says, "We depend on and trust the professionalism and good judgment of our astronauts. There is nothing written down that is clear or official about sex in space. We care more about making sure the crew can work well together for long periods of time in space and that they are emotionally ready for their mission." Millis doesn't think astronauts would betray NASA's trust, if only because they would get caught. The astronauts are pretty much watched all the time while they are in space, so it would be hard for them to ever be alone enough to do such things, he says. There have been rumors that astronauts and cosmonauts may have done research with a sexual focus, but as far as I know, none of that has been proven, and in fact, much of it has been debunked. Robert Jacobs, the Deputy Associate Administrator at NASA's Office of Communications, says that even if astronauts could meet in secret on an airplane, they probably wouldn't want to. Astronauts live and work very close to each other in a space that is often small, noisy, and crowded. Every day, they see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets. Home comforts like regular baths and showers and other things we take for granted are not there. Even just getting enough rest can be hard. On top of that, they have to take care of the spacecraft, keep their health in good shape, do ongoing science and research, and train even more. Because of this, there aren't many chances for the candlelit scenes you see in movies and TV shows. This is something that wasn't taught at space camp. Will people who are not astronauts be able to try it out soon? Even with these small issues, experts think that people will want to try space sex as soon as possible, and businesses will take advantage of this desire. At the Space Frontier Foundation's New Space 2006 conference, Laura Woodman C., the author of Sex in Space, said that sex would become the killer app of space tourism because every couple or threesome that goes into space will want to try it.